And we're going to switch over to Lita's presentation. And then give me a second.
Okay, well, thank you. Well,
I'm going to hit play. And there we go. Can you see her slides?
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we did really wanted to focus on also the fact that when you first become treasurer, none of us are banking people. Carly gets all of this, but I'm just a nurse. So it's important to understand some of the things that we need to be looking for to further understand and move forward with making a successful, financially successful chapter. So things such as like developing a clear handoff plan for the next treasurer, making sure that they understand what the account numbers are, making sure that they understand that they do need to have electronic payments done to be able to receive funds. Making sure that any information having to do to the receipt of funds, be it that you have an Eventbrite account where funds might be coming in for events, or and what that account information is, or if you have an account where you are investing in, that information is passed on, and that all of the treasurer, and whether it be your president, whoever your chapter chooses, needs to be represented in all of those accounts. We do recommend that when those meetings happen for the handoff, that the two people are on the phone. Let it be the new treasurer, the outgoing treasurer, and whether it be the president-elect or the president, to make sure that everybody gets the information and understands that everything has been passed on. Another important piece is that the W-9 or the nonprofit information is given to you, so that you know that information needs to be changed and signed, and we're going to go over that a little bit afterwards. And also that the credit cards are destroyed in front of somebody else with you for the outgoing treasurer, to make sure that everybody knows that credit card does not exist. It's important that you understand how you add or delete member from your bank's account. Now, this could be done with the assistance of your banks, but the majority of the banks, when a new treasurer comes in, they're going to require the minutes that state that let's say Lita Velez is the new treasurer, and you're going to go with your secretary and take documentation for both, allowing that patient to, or that person to, get into the account. So that's really important, and it's important to do it like it's really soon in the year. When you become the treasurer, not waiting to February, March, April. If you become treasurer, taking care of that information right away, so there's no confusion on who needs to be on that account. And then, of course, we wanted to make sure that you're aware that NAHN does have those requirements that Carly spoke about having electronic payments. So in order to be able to get funding and reimburse for the chapter members and dues and all of that. I was going to change it, but you got it. Other thing is about banking. It is important that every month, the two people that are signed up in the account, you will both get a copy of the bank statements. Now, these bank statements needs to be reviewed, whether it's online or you're getting the paper form, and discussed in your meetings, so that goes into the minutes, that the amounts from month to month that is in your account is reviewed. So if there's any question about any money not being available in the account, you can say it was discussed in such and such meeting. So the monthly finance reports are huge. And we also want to bring up for when we're doing membership meetings that you discussed last month totals, checking savings, and then again what you have this month, so that there's comparison and people know exactly what what the totals are. Now, within regards to board meetings, it's important that we continue to discuss the bank statements and be very specific what went out. Okay, so I spent $300 this month for I don't know, business cards for everybody. So that needs to be brought up and verbalized. So again, it can go on in minutes that the changes in your bank account totals were because of that expense of the $300. And also discuss the deposits. Non-national send us $500 for membership so that we can document and address those deposits. Um, Now, events are obviously a little more complicated, and it requires a lot of hands on deck. And it's kind of hard when there's a lot of hands working on an event to get the money to just stay on one place. So it's extremely important that the president, the treasurer, um, and are aware of what registration platforms they are, and get copies of statements of who came in, when, what they paid, because that's what's going to help us move forward and not lose track of the funds that are coming in for those events. Also, if you, depending on the size of your chapter, if you have squares to run credit card payments, that you be aware that, what percentage square is going to charge per credit card run. And because usually it'll be like, I don't know, like 5% plus 10 cents or 5 cents. And I'm not sure, I'm making up numbers, but those are some of the things that we'll be looking for. So if, there's going to be a difference in what we charge and what we're actually going to get. And the Square will provide those reports also. So those need to be also brought forward in meetings. Raffles, obviously, like in events when people are paying with cash, not just credit cards, become a little bit more um, complicated, because sometimes, if we're doing a 50-50 raffle and there's a lot of cash involved, we got to make sure that those are kind of funneled. If you know that, let's say Carly and I are working on this event, that one of us has a cash bag where the money is going to be given, and it should only be given to Carly or myself. It shouldn't be given to anybody else. So assign those two people that are going to be handling the cash. So that's not, they give it to, somebody else, and then they're like, oh, wait, I gave it to so-and-so. And no, just have your targeted people for those events. The same thing with donations. When I became treasurer and we had an event here in Phoenix, I had people coming up to me and just giving me checks. And I had no idea what these checks were for. So it kind of throws off exactly on how we're going to identify those funds into our account. Was that a donation? Was that going for a scholarship? Was that, in payment for something else? So it's really important that the receipts are given to anybody who provides, again, checks. So having somebody or those assigned people that will have the cash bar or bag and a receipt book is very important, so that if they give you a check, you can, okay, so this check is for what and what, and they get their receipt right away. So there's that communication there, and then that gets processed correctly into the account. I mentioned lock bags because in events, these bags they're locked up. So, it'll be easy to kind of protect those funds. And again, this will need to be assigned to one person to hold that bag, with two people being involved there when it opens, or um, when money needs to be moved in. And then the other thing is, at the end of an event, when you are counting cash, it have two people doing it, so that you check either if you have receipts, checks, or whatever. I think that everything is documented and signed and confirmed by two people. And then that assists also the treasurer to be able to assign those funds to where they need to be into the account. Now, we mentioned um, different things like, payments, credit cards. For credit cards, if you're going to open an account, there should be only two people having credit cards. Don't add a third one just for the ease of somebody not being able to meet for a credit card. And then kind of funds, or the ease of control of the funds being lost. We have had instances where a credit card was assigned for ease of management of things, and then it just got lost, and then everything had to be changed. Also, when having credit cards, making sure that we're not withdrawing cash from those credit cards ever. It should always be, if it's cash needed, it needs to be a form sent or discussed with the treasurer ahead of time, and not just, oh, I couldn't go to I didn't have time, so I had to withdraw cash. So only two people with the credit cards, president and your treasurers, to make sure that there's no questions about it. Now, I mentioned required documentation, documentation such as your check requests, to make sure that everything that is requested is accounted for, and also that it is applied to the budgets that each person will have. And we'll go over budgets in a little bit. The receipts for expenses, keeping track and trying to get those to the treasurer in a timely manner just facilitates things not getting lost, and the balancing of the books for the treasurer. I will say, if you don't have a receipt, we can't pay you. Make sure that having that receipt is what tells you, yes, this is what I spent. And just somebody saying, no, I spent $30 on the table decorations, and writing it on a piece of paper is not enough. So making sure that we hold each other accountable for following those processes is what's going to make us successful, to be able to grow financially as chapters. Sell and Venmo, they're near into the ball game now, but they definitely provide like an ease of funds, but also please make sure that those reports are run, if we're getting payments in a monthly manner, and reviewed with membership in your meetings. And then if there's expenses, make sure that things are approved. Don't just assume because you have a credit card or something that you can go spend something, any amount of money, without things having been approved or being part of a budget. Okay, next. Now, we have to keep in mind that as treasurers also, taxes are due annually, and Carly will discuss more on that. And then also that our budgets are needed to support our expenses as we move forward with this. Carly can probably tell us more about that. And Also, just be aware that you are not alone going through this process of being a new treasurer. I can't tell you guys how many times and I'm sure Armando can tell you, I would stop them. I'm like, how do I do this? Can you tell me how to do it? Are we going to have some help? Because I honestly wanted to do what was best for my chapter, to be able to support it. Just know that you have the support of NAHN, and you can either send information, you get information or questions at the infohispanicnurses.org, and that will go to Carly, and Carly will be able to reach out for you or find that resource to kind of help you out. But please ask those questions. Our chapters are all different sizes, so we're at different levels, but definitely the support is not lost in all of this. And any questions that I can answer?
Hi, Lydia. This is Sandra from Sacramento. I
Hey,
was
Sandra.
wondering if there was anybody on the call or if you can help me. I've had the worst time trying to get a bank account. They have so many requirements. They want, the minutes. They want our bylaws. And in California, they wanted us to sign into the Secretary of State website to put ourselves on a nonprofit. And we had to pay $75 to do that. And it's been a nightmare. And I feel like we're never going to get our money because we can't get an account.
I concur. This is Carolina from Pittsburgh, and I successfully got us an account open, but it took, here in Pennsylvania, I ended up dishing out like $200 and some odd dollars out of my own pocket to get a 503 nonprofit article to be able to take to the bank to open a bank account. We did eventually get our bank established and got our seed money put in. But I agree. I think that we need some additional direction, especially for new chapters, on what exactly those papers are, because the list that's on the booklet that we get for, growing and building a chapter, even though it's detailed, it's not exactly detailed enough to give us the support that we need to open a bank account.
And I want to say I agree with you. And in different states might have slightly different requirements. But I think that's when we're having such hard time. I think that's when our national team can come in and really support you. So if you're having that much a difficult time, they can definitely help us to get through that.
Absolutely. And I do want to say that I've been very aware of that problem. And Sandra, and I didn't know about the one in Pittsburgh, but I've been very aware of this requirement for this 501c3 status documentation. And I don't have the answer for you today, but my goal is to disseminate and distribute a piece of paper saying that you're all 501c3 statuses, because you do fall under our umbrella nationally. And if the chapter is paid for it, and we can figure that out as well. I want to make that right, because you do fall under our umbrella for that 501c3 status. I know that people have been requesting like articles of incorporation, and articles of incorporation aren't that's your EIN should cover your single chapter's articles of incorporation, but the 501c3 status is under an umbrella process. And that process is that non-national tells the IRS on an annual basis who falls underneath our umbrella, and then they're acknowledged in that status. With that, we should be giving you that number and all of that information. And that process is not clear yet. And I've been working with the auditor and MCI. And so, yes, that has been an issue that has not been correct, and we're definitely trying to get on the right track, and hopefully that'll help not only with your bank accounts, but also as purchasers and giving receipts. You have that non-for-profit receipt validation kind of thing. So that is something that I know we're going to be working on. So thank you for that feedback.
You know what, I do also want to mention too that that's a case also when you're trying to do investment. The articles of incorporation has stopped us from moving forward with investment because of the article. We didn't know how to do that too. So I just want to bring that up. We also had that problem, but with investments.
Yeah, and so in the tax exemption form, there's that is the 501c3 status. That should be the right form. So when you're 501c3 under our umbrella, that is a tax exempt number. And so those should be one and the same. And yeah, the articles of incorporation, I need to look into that a little bit more because I feel our non-national, like NAHN as an association has our articles, but when we have our bank account with that, right? And so then the EIN should act as individual chapters articles, then with the non-national tax exemption 501c3 non-for-profit status, which we should probably, and this is where this is not set in stone yet, I'm trying to figure this out, needing to be on letterhead identifying each chapter that falls into that. Is that correct, Armando?
Yes, correct. You got it right.
Yep.
I
So
want to say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're working on that, and I think within the next year, that's definitely the next step and goal, is to make sure that every chapter has every piece of information they need in order to do that. Yeah, Armando?
Yeah, we just want to make it easier for the chapter. We want to work together, and we have the chapter. We want the chapter to be like more involved with national, more connected with national, and that's one of our goals. Also, the committee. I know in the past we have tried as past treasurer, but I think it's going to get done this time. So with everybody's help. So we have to be in the same line.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, Carly, great job, Lita. Great job, very informative. Okay, as the cheerleader for the committee, excellent job, you ladies. So far, so good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for showing up, Armando. That's exactly what we needed. But yeah, and just do know as we start rolling this information out, that will probably be on next year's boot camp, is the form that we're talking about, and we do want to make it right. So do know that National hears it, and we are going to be evaluating case by case situations in terms of what has happened and try to move in the correct direction. So does that help with that question?
Yes, thank you. Actually, do I have time to ask another quick question? Okay. So going off of that, I kind of already know the answer, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I have a credit union account that I really don't use. And I was thinking, what if I just send you guys that information, and then once we get our bank account, hopefully in the next year or a few months, I can just transition that money to our actual real account? Is that?
I'm going to go ahead and say probably don't do that. That's actually, let's not do that. That's crossing too many barriers, and we'll work together to try to expedite your bank account process. But yeah, don't ever put non-money into a personal account. That's really, that would not be kosher.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't a good idea, but we're getting desperate over here.
We'll get you figured out. Email me straight up. Here's my email in the box. Okay. And I'll take this back to Finance Committee. We'll get you going. All right, any other questions for Lita? She had some great points, and a couple comments. Paulette, thank you. Yeah, the lock bags have one person with the key and one person with the bag. These bags you can get on Amazon for like $17, and it's a locked bag, and it's like impenetrable with like a knife and that kind of stuff. So anything else? We'll move on.